You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchistan Center, this is Phoenix FM.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
According to the Nerd Index, you should be upside down in a junior high toilet around the clock.
This is We'll do it live! Time goes in, time goes out. Never miss communication.
It's over 9,000! My name is Foxy.
The balls are in there. Doorbell roll! Don't face me, bro! It's a trap! I'm a firing believer! Time to Hey, Charlie, wake up! Oh, God, oh, man!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nerd to Know Basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. And a Merry Christmas to all of you listening to this live on Christmas Day.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, Merry
ho,
everyone.
Ahoy. Merry everyone.
And I'm his friend Jesus.
Oh, my goodness.
How are we all doing this fine evening?
Oh, I'll go first. Yeah, I'm doing great. At the time of recording, I've just finished my last day in the schools. So as a teacher, I have come home with many, many boxes of celebrations and heroes and things. So I am in a very good mood and full of sugar. How about you, Dara?
Ahoy. Happy Christmas, everybody. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Well, no, I'm not doing well. I have a cold still. I don't have the virus, but I do have a cold, and it sucks. But again, it's a Christmas tradition because every year, with the exception of during the pandemic, I actually had a cold. Ironically, the only time I wasn't sick during Christmas was when there was a global pandemic, which is really funny when you think about it. So yeah, I'm just
funny.
I'm sick
Funny
again,
joke.
which sucks. But I did manage to see The Matrix, which is cool. And yeah, so doing well.
Yeah, well, let's dive straight into it then. Our for the listeners at home, our plan, such as these plans always go, is we will discuss the new Matrix film, which has come out this week, Hawkeye's finale, which is relatively Christmassy. And then we might come up with some mad Christmas type lists and things, and our best Christmas films, our worst Christmas films, our most nerdy things. I would imagine about 25% of that plan will go into the finished product. But join in at home.
No, we're putting this in stone now. So you, the listeners, can call us on this because this is just what we talk. This is just what happens before we record.
I genuinely think we can actually do it this time because we like.
If we do, it'll be an actual Christmas miracle.
Well, without further ado, without much time wasting, Dara, the news on everyone's lips now has been the release of The Matrix Resurrection.
Yes.
As our man on the front lines.
Yes.
What is the verdict?
So last night I was watching a bunch of reviews and then reading some reviews saying it's terrible, it's really bad, and blah blah blah. And you know what? I think the reason why is because they're the same people that hated Reloaded and Revolutions. If you didn't like Matrix Reload and Revolutions, you're not going to like this. That's just it, right? If you genuinely didn't like them, you're not going to like this because it's not the Matrix 1, and people need to understand that. They don't the Wachowskis don't make the same movie again. That's not the point. The Matrix 1, and I saw the Matrix 1 very recently. Went to go see it in 4D, and it was incredible. It's still incredible. It's groundbreaking. Literally changed the whole sci-fi genre and movies as a whole. But Reloaded is great. Now I loved Reloaded when it came out. Revolutions, not so much, but it's still pretty cool. And this is the same. It's not the Matrix. It's a continuation of the story in a very cool and unique way, and it does a lot of really interesting things that ties it all together. It justifies a lot that's going on. But again, if you're just somebody who just wants to see The Matrix again, go watch The Matrix again. Right? Literally, go watch The Matrix again. You know what? It's still great. It's still a lot of fun. You'll have a really good time.
I'm really glad to hear this because like I've been hearing the mediocre reviews and I was kind of getting a bit deflated. I was like, it's a shame that Lana couldn't knock this one out of the park. But that's the thing is I recently rewatched all three of them and realized I love those second two. Like obviously the first one's great. That's given. Like we know that's great. I love those second two names. Especially, I'll even give Revolutions a lot more slack than I remember giving it. That whole like last hour, the war scene on Zion is incredible.
Revolution suffers from the fact that they should have had a lot of the animatrix in there as well. That's the problem. There's a lot of fluff in it that didn't need to be there. With the fourth one, it's a commentary on reboot culture. Like literally, okay.
Oh, okay. Well, because I've been avoiding because I wanted to hear your take on this first before I knew anything about the movie. So
I want to get into
what's the premise of it?
So I want to get into slight spoilers, right? So if you don't want to hear anything, just knock it off until 20 past, right?
Would you ever stop doing that? You're making the marketing of this nightmare.
Come back. So look, right. So in this world, Thomas Anderson is a video game designer.
Okay.
He made a series of games called The Matrix. So we were actually kind of right about our prediction. It was going to be a film, but it's actually a game. And the game is incredibly successful. It's like the most successful game of all time, right? And then it picks up a couple of years later where he wants to go back and do a sequel because he keeps having dreams about it. And then the movie starts and it realizes that they actually inserted him back into The Matrix as a game designer. And then to trick him that thinks that everything that happened in The Matrix actually he made up and that he was crazy. So it's a really cool kind of way that they all explained how he's aware of the Matrix, how people are aware of what's going on without being aware of it, and also why he has to go back. So eventually he does kind of free himself by coding Morpheus. He basically like recreates Morpheus because Morpheus is dead canonically in the Matrix because he died in the Matrix game, right? A lot of people who went to go see who are moaning about this probably didn't play Matrix Online, okay, or didn't look it up.
Well, that's what I wanted to was worrying about. Is there a lot of supplementary material you need to know about?
Yes,
going into this fourth film.
It's the Matrix.
Oh, I know, but like there's Star Wars and there's Star Wars Rebels, Star Wars this, Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like,
no, but look, the thing about the Matrix after the first one, right? It was always a cross-media thing. The Wachowskis did it. They released, and that was what blew my mind as a kid and still does today. The Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions, right, weren't just the films. It was the Animatrix. It was the comics. It was the video game. It was the other video game. It was all this kind of stuff all tying in together. So there is that kind of expectation that you've done your homework. And if you have, like, you're like, oh, this is actually a perfect way to pick up a story. I think what people are upset about is that it's not. They're saying, oh, the color palette's different. It's like, it is literally a different Matrix. How did you miss this? How did you miss this at the end of the movie when it was like saying,
that was stated pretty clearly.
Like, I don't know what, like, if it comes down to, you did use the Star Wars reference. People love The Force Awakens because it was literally a new hope again, right? And look what happened. We ended up with with terrible series of movies that ruined Star Wars basically to death, to the point that The Mandalorian had to save it, right? With this, it's like The Matrix is weird. It's not a movie franchise that you can just kind of get down, just sit down and watch. The first one you can, and I would say if you just like the first one and didn't like the sequels, do not go see this movie because what you want is not there for you. And I've heard some people say, oh, it's woke, it has all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, did you watch the first Matrix?
if they're giving out about the Matrix being woke, you've completely lost the point.
You've completely missed the movie.
You're just giving out about everything.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's funny that they said that because
hey, let me be the one to say you are going to hate when you find out who the director is.
But here's what's funny about that, Kev, right? While it has a really diverse cast, and you can make that argument, it's one of the only movies I've seen where it's all natural. You're not watching going, oh, they're only there because you're like, no, they're there because they're great. Like, it's genuinely has one of the perfect casting choice across the whole way. New character, Bugs. She's brilliant. She's like one of my favorite characters in the entire Matrix. She's awesome. Now, again, I do have to stress, if any of those things upset you, you're not going to like it. But then again, you don't like The Matrix. You just like the one movie that you fail to understand at a fundamental level. So look, I would say if you liked Reload and Revolutions, you're really gonna like this. If you like Keanu Reeves action movies, you're really gonna like it. It's not The Matrix, but nothing is The Matrix.
I like Carrie Ann Moss. Am I gonna like it?
Oh no, she's so good in this.
Yes,
so good. And you know what?
That's the only thing is that like I remember watching the trailers and I think I'd hit Keanu saturation by that point. So I saw Keanu as Neo. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. I saw Carrie Ann Moss's Trinity. I was like, yeah, baby, let's go. Kick it into gear.
And speaking of kicking into gear, there's lots of motorcycle action, and then there is the most satisfying ending of a movie ever. And it's like a conversation, but a conversation in a really cool way. There's also some cool cameos in it that actually tie directly into Matrix Online. I'm going to ruin it. The Merovingian is the main enemy of Matrix Online. He comes back and it explains what he did, and you're like, oh, it's all there. People just need to do a bit of homework. Okay. And I think anyone moaning about this is like, you're not a fan of the series. The Wachowskis don't spoon feed you stuff. You have to use your brain.
I do it, especially with like the Matrix Online, because I've only got like I picked up on wikis from a couple of them.
Yeah, well,
when I found out that Morpheus got assassinated and that, I was like, okay, I need to go down a deep dive on this for a sec. I do wish that there was like some sort of primer available of like.
I will send you one. There's one. IGN did one there last night.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. But look, as I said, guys, look, in one word, should you go see it, right? Yes, with the caveat of if you are a fan of Reload and Revolutions.
Okay, that's a fair yeah.
I'm glad to hear, because that's lit the fire under me now to go see it as soon as I can.
And it is cool. It is, the editing is weird but cool. The way because it's all got to do with loops, and like they will call back stuff, and it's a very, very cool way. And look, I love when movies take risks. It's why I like The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi was the most interesting thing that Disney Star Wars did, because it was so completely different. And Lana wouldn't have come back to do this just to make The Matrix again.
You have been saying that for a while now, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, why would you bother? Like, no one's going to be happy, or they'll, and people say, oh, Spider-Man, what's the Spider-Man movie called? No Way Home. Oh, that gave everything fun. Yeah, but they built it up, and they were tying it all together. That wasn't trying to do what The Matrix is trying to do. What they're trying to do here is kind of reboot the continuity and continue the story rather than wrap up all these loops and kind of reset a path. It's two completely different things. I don't get the analogy, but again, if you are a fan of Reloaded, you're going to love this. Now, the music, I do have to say, there is one bad point. The music kind of sucks.
Is it the same composer back?
No, well, he's back for a little bit, but because they're in the Matrix, but they're not doing Matrixy stuff, you know the way? Like, Neo isn't the one for ages. He's only the one near the end. So there's no need to have that big technical stuff, because that's not the goal of the movie. The goal of the movie is it's high stakes, but low stakes. And a lot of it takes place in the real world. A lot of it takes place. It's such a weird, cool way of doing it. And I'm really satisfied, because again, while I loved, as much as I wanted Juno Reactor playing and stuff like that.
I was going to say, you couldn't bring back those like 2000s, like Linkin Park impersonator bands back and all that kind of stuff, could you?
You could, and they do at the end, and I'll explain in a second. You could, but it would feel Force Awakens-y, which is not what anyone needs. It needed to be its own thing. Now, there is the worst cover of Wake Up in human history. It's atrocious, and I'm like, that takes it down from being like a 75 to about 65, because it's dreadful. That's
gold.
Oh, it is absolutely, and I'm just like, you couldn't have just paid for the Rage version, though. Like,
what? Wait, Kevin, have you heard this already?
No, but just because I know, because Wake Up that ends the first movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
So just the fact that the news has just ends with a crap cover of it, that's just funny. That's comedy.
But see, here's the thing: is that intentional? Like, did Lana just? And I think there is stuff in there to troll people. And I'm like,
very likely,
because a lot of it is like a metatextual thing on reboots. And I'm like, that's really clever at the same time, but it's
kind of like it could be in a way highlighting that this is a different reality than
And what I'd say is, I think in about 10 years, people will be like, wow, that was really good. But the hate for it just isn't justified. And look, I will go to bat for it and say, look, it isn't justified. You just genuinely either you see everything as woke and everything that you want to bitch about, or you just don't understand the Matrix. And again, if you're complaining about stuff being woke, then you don't understand the Matrix. I would say.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
So that sounds awesome, Dara. I'm going to really look forward to watch that. So we're going to take it from you justifying your love for the Matrix Resurrections. Kian, tell us about Hawkeye.
Oh, I feel like I've got the more controversial end of the stick somehow. Oh no, I'm coming off that like kind of post-cinema excitement type feeling because I've only just literally finished Hawkeye series 9 about 20 minutes ago. But yeah, I loved it to bits. They amped up all the Christmas stuff for the last episode and brought all the characters back. And I'm going to go out on a controversial limb and say Hawkeye's my favorite Disney Plus series so far. I love it to bits.
I'd agree.
The list. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, because Kev's eyes shot like 5 miles into the air when I said that. Not that the listeners will get the benefit of that.
I started Hawkeye this afternoon.
Okay.
I'm it's 6 episodes, right?
Yeah.
I made it halfway through them. And it's fine.
That's what I like about it.
I just love it. Like,
it's low stakes, but not really. No one really cares, and it's great. It's like Daredevil, but doesn't take itself seriously.
Yeah, actually, Dara, that's a really good point of comparison since all the Daredevil-y types are kind of sneaking into the MCU now, which will hopefully include Carrie-Anne Moss, actually, because she's in Jessica Jones.
But, she is. Yeah.
But that's a conversation for another day. For now, there was something old-fashioned and workmanlike about all of the 6 Hawkeye episodes where it just had a very clear beginning, middle, end. All the episodes have a very specific purpose. It builds, the characters all get their moment in the sun and their journeys. And the other Marvel Disney Plus things felt so experimental that they'd kind of burn out by their finale. This didn't happen this time. I really, really loved how they sent everything off. And I'm very excited to see where it goes. I'm not going to spoil too much, obviously, but the last episode is basically just a caper in a building on Christmas, which, I mean, you'll probably already know kind of. It's not exactly Die Hard, obviously, but there's a feeling of it mixed with a little bit of Home Alone because they have to like invent all their little arrows and things, and they're just cracking jokes while all these 3 or 4 fights are all happening across the building. There's just something wonderfully mad and joyous about it. And the bigger comic book things become, the more serious they take themselves. I do miss that goofy fun kind of thing that we don't really seem to get anymore. I absolutely loved it to bits. And Jeremy Renner was a very good B-rate Bruce Willis for the MCU for this particular episode. And all the beats that it needed to hit with all the characters, because I know I don't want to spoil too much because Kev's only 3 episodes in. But it delivered on everything it absolutely needed to. And I am in a very good mood for having watched it. Dara, what did you think?
I haven't finished the finale, but I'm like just about to watch it now, and I've really enjoyed everything I saw about Hawkeye. Like WandaVision was incredible, but also as incredible it was let down by its terrible ending. Winter Soldier also, it took itself way too seriously near the ending and kind of took away from it. Loki, it did end satisfyingly because obviously it's setting up Doctor Strange.
But its scale, like its scale exactly. is part of the machinations that is like No Way Home, and then it's so ingrained in that. Yeah,
that you don't get that payoff yet. But what's cool about Hawkeye is it's going to wrap up. You know, this is kind of. I don't know. Have I missed a Marvel?
I won't spoil anything, but I will say it doesn't end on a cliffhanger. I will say that much.
Yeah.
You can watch these 6, and it's finished.
But see, if it finished on a cliffhanger, I was going to say it finished on a Hawkeye. If it finished on a cliffhanger, I don't think it would have been appropriate because, like, the great thing about the show is the whole point is he gets home for Christmas. That's what the whole stakes are, and obviously he wants to, save Kate from herself, basically.
And
hold on. You can say leaving it on a Hawkeye because he was hanging on that cliff when Nat fell off.
Oh no.
Zing!
Too soon. I will say that actually, me and Stevie kept saying this during the last 2 episodes. Actually, was Hawkeye does a much better job of making you miss Black Widow than the Black Widow movie does. And I don't know why that is.
Because the Black Widow movie is supposed to come out 3 years ago.
Maybe
you're not supposed to miss her.
You're not supposed to miss her. She's just supposed to still be there.
Yeah, they just pushed it back too much, and now it's like, oh, she's dead.
But like, I mean, I have mixed feelings about all the MCU things that started to creep in about the midway point in the series. But I think everything was treated with the right amount of respect in terms of all those extra characters who came in halfway through. And it's unlike all the other Disney Plus things. It didn't feel like there was a minute of fat on this. Everything needed to be there, and everything was very carefully calculated. And honestly, just every episode put me in a very good mood, which is nice from television. You watch. I miss that.
There's one thing as well that I think is important for people to like, I guess, appreciate or to know going in is like, you can watch this without knowing who any of these people are.
I mean, that's fair, yeah.
And you can't really do that with anything else. Like WandaVision, you could to a point, but then it's very derivative.
Well, WandaVision, the confusion was part of the appeal, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think WandaVision is like the biggest missed opportunity MCU. And I will say that to anybody. The Winter Soldier show was cool, but had a lot of setup, and then the end of it was just, oh my God, it's the worst thing I think I've seen on TV in years. But
I liked it.
I know, Keane, but you defend terrible things.
Look,
you're
the one defending Matrix 4 at the moment.
Guys, we simply can't.
You know what? I will agree with you, Dara, to the extent that I think Hawkeye is the first Disney Plus show, apart from What If, which is very much its own thing.
Yeah, that's its own thing.
Where I didn't think this is good, but you could trim an episode and a half off this and lose nothing substantial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like What If, I actually haven't finished What If because I kind of gave up. I'm like, you know, it's so like, but that's the thing with What If comics in general. Like I kind of read, you just read them like, okay. I think the only one that now it looks like it's going to have some kind of stakes is the evil Doctor Strange one.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. But yeah, so look, I agree, Keane. I think you're spot on with your Hawkeye take. It's great. And look, you know what? You could watch this every Christmas, and it could be part of your Christmas watching.
That's actually one thing I want to say about the finale. I was a bit let down by. I mean, there's Christmas aesthetically in the first few episodes, but that's kind of it. There's no like apart from like the getting home for Christmas angle. They amp it up a lot in the last episode. Like, I mean. At one point, they're literally hanging out of a Christmas tree. Like, you know, it's like
that is the one thing that, because I've been watching with Louise and she did point out to us that we both found it very jarring when Christmas music started playing just out of nowhere.
Yeah,
the first couple of episodes.
There's actually, that's one of my favorite things I wanted to point out. The score is by the Ant-Man composer, Christoph Beck, who also does like Buffy and all that kind of stuff. And they just work in loads of famous Christmas songs into the melodies of the music.
Yeah, I can't say I was expecting Trans-Siberian Orchestra versions of Christmas songs in the soundtrack. And I'm delighted by that because they are Christmas classics.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so I think if you didn't have that score, the first 4 episodes would leave you kind of cold in terms of the Christmas angle, but they amp it up again in the finale. And I'm actually really looking forward to finding that CD and listening to it because it's great, you know.
And look, I think that leads us nicely into the next thing. Actually, guys, have you won Whamageddon yet?
Oh God, I've been doing musical statues in my school. Are you kidding me?
I think I might have. I don't think I've heard of this.
I haven't listened to it yet either.
No, you know what? Actually, I was doing fine until Bryn recommended the film last Christmas, and I heard it 4 times.
Oh God, Kev, when did you lose?
No, I think it must have played in my apartment actually a couple of weeks ago. Now, think about it.
You watched? Hold on. This is our first Christmas not in a shop where we might actually not hear it.
Yeah. You watched Last Christmas?
Yeah.
I heard about that. That sounded awful.
Oh no.
Oh, it's great.
No. It sounded bonkers, but it sounded awful.
I loved it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to refer to my last point about Keane defending terrible things.
I think defending terrible things that Bryn recommended.
This does, as Darren was saying, this does solidly bring us into our second portion of this show, where we are going to tell you all about our favorite and worst Christmas movies or media.
Oh yes,
which is a good way to segue out of this ditch I found myself in.
No, Cian. This Last Christmas is in your top 5. Please explain. Elaborate.
There's no escaping that. I did have a special category called recent classics, which I put this and Little Women in. So
how was Last Christmas there? Though? Oh my God, I just don't understand it. Oh my god!
I have no shame.
I do admire Keen's like ability to see the good in absolute garbage. You know, it is something I just don't have.
Keen, you bring a light. You bring a light to this show.
Oh,
You do. Truly.
We cannot emphasize how much we appreciate.
Speaking of which, shout out to Geek Ireland. Actually, I won the Spider-Man competition.
Hey!
Yeah, and it wasn't because it was rigged. It's literally just, I guess I just won.
RNG, baby.
Your 10 bot accounts and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So, okay. So how about we do this, right? So we'll go with one good from each of us and then one bad from each of us.
Well, actually, that's what I was going to ask you. I know me and Kev have a shocking lack of bad ones. Do you have a lot?
I have a lot because luckily our crossover show last week was cringe-worthy wrestling movies of Christmas. So I have 5 here.
Here's what we'll do then. We'll do one good, one bad, but you, after about one round, will have to like take up the mantle of leading quite a lot. I've only got about 2 or 3, and even them are just ones that I personally don't like, but I could see other people enjoying.
Sure. Okay. Well, what I will say is anyone who didn't check out last week's show, not the show that yourself and myself did, Keen, the show that we did on the Rewind.
One.
No, the Rewind,
right.
Wrestling one. It was all about basically 2 of these terrible wrestling movies. But anyway, so who wants to start first with a good one?
I think I'll just start with a softball where my number one is Tokyo Godfathers. Okay. I'm not going to belay this point too much because there is a
softball, is it? Okay,
softball in the fact that like I'm not going to belay the point too much because there is an hour-long podcast you can listen to.
Oh,
this
is
true. Right here, presented to you and wrapped back on my previous Anime Cross Course show, where me and Keith emphatically just swoon over this movie for nearly an hour. But the long and short of it, if you're not bothered, is that it is this cavalcade of comedy of these 3 homeless people in the middle of Tokyo finding a baby in the trash. Comedy. But it's so wonderfully written where it's so funny, but also so emotionally just heartstring ringing. It's one of the best Christmas movies I've ever seen. I can't emphasize enough. And it's on Netflix now. So absolutely do yourselves a favor and go watch it. It's truly, it's outstanding.
Very cool.
Oh, lovely.
Okay.
Sorry. Katie sends her apologies for not being able to make it. She's got Wi-Fi issues. Okay, are we doing films first or TV first, or are we just kind of
either?
Whichever. Yeah.
Either.
Okay. Oh, I'm having a tough time picking. I did do a top 5. I'm gonna start with the one that will probably get me the most flack. I love the Jim Carrey Grinch. I love it to bits. Most people hate it. I always get funny looks on the buses when I start singing it. Whatever.
Well, that's because you're singing on a bus, King.
Yeah. Now here's where things are going to get messy. Here's where things get messy. The Grinch was on my list as well.
Yes.
I think it's great. I think it's really good.
Okay, because like I always see like I've written an article defending it on Geek Ireland. I'm like I always seem to get flack for defending it because people think it's like sacrilegious or something, but
it's way better than a movie from its time should be for a Grinch.
Exactly.
For like,
that's a really good point.
For a Grinch from its time, considering the fact that like
Cat in the
Hat came in at the same time as well. So like in terms of live action Seuss remakes, the Grinch has come out clean.
One thing though, do not defend the PlayStation 1 game because that nearly ruined Christmas for me as a child. That game sucks.
The Grinch game.
Oh, for the PS1, it's terrible. That literally nearly ruined Steven's day for me one time. I was like, this is awful.
But Kean, please, what game?
But Kean, please, what do you think the Jim Carrey Grinch brings that emphasizes the fact that this should be a Christmas essential?
It's, you know what? It's one of those things where it's something films always try to do and rarely get, which is, I saw this when I was like 7 or 8. And obviously I related to the Cindy Lou character who was like just trying to make sense of the fact that she finds Christmas to be very artificial and all that kind of stuff. And they really ramp up that in the production. It looks ugly on purpose at points, which I think people find off-putting. But then as a grumpy 30-something, the Grinch is incredibly relatable. I absolutely love him sitting in his lair and like looking through his schedule about how he's just going to like have dinner with himself and slip into madness and all that kind of stuff. It's just, there's so many gems that Jim Carrey brings in that script. There's just so many wonderful Grinch moments, and I get that it's too noisy for some people, and it definitely kind of looks obnoxious because they're trying to make Christmas look like something the Grinch would hate. But God, it's just so entertaining. Entertaining every time I see it, you know?
I think if people are complaining that it's too like visually noisy, they're missing kind of, aside from the fact that like it's adapting to live action Seuss, which is wild. It's like the costume designs in that are just so elaborate and fantastic. The Who, like the Lou Who's city, their parents doing like going to the celebration dressed as like a Christmas dinner.
Oh, it's completely
fantastic.
They have these like hot chocolate cups on their head at a diagonal angle.
One of them has a bowl.
Liquid. You can see moving. How do they manage that?
And and obviously Jim Carrey's prosthetics are incredible, and apparently he had to do torture training to be able to wear that.
Oh,
just with all the hair. But like that aside, the amount of like prosthetics and practicals on just all the background actors with all the noses, it's impressive for what it was, for when it was.
Oh, completely. And you look at like the Cat in the Hat, since you brought it up, where it's very clearly like, you know, it's a real costume, but it's just Mike Myers' face into this costume that can barely turn. And like Jim Carrey is doing like acrobatics and jumping around the place. Like at one point he jumps around your woman so much that he's out of breath.
But I think
he's able to move in the costume and really express himself. That's not easy when, I mean, speaking as a cosplayer, you are wearing 2 or 3 layers of suit. And also, as Kev said, the prosthetics on him look great. You don't see Carrey underneath the Grinch's face at all. Do you know what I mean?
And what I'd say is, if you've only seen the Cat in the Hat, this is not the Cat in the Hat. This is so much better. So I would say go watch that. In the interest of time, though, I want to quickly remove.
Yes. Sorry, I could talk about the Grinch for hours. Please go there.
I just want to quickly remove some of the safe ones, right? So Home Alone 1 and 2, the Snowman, and there's another one as well. Well, Miracle on 34th Street is for some people.
Ooh, which one though? The original or the 90s one?
The 90s one, I would say.
Both are great.
Both are great. And then Nightmare Before Christmas as well is like a safe one. I would say they're all the safe ones for just in the interest of time. And also because they're the ones that we've all kind of seen. But I would say one that many people probably don't talk about nearly as much, or probably forget that it's even a Christmas movie, is Gremlins.
Yes, that's on my list.
Oh, there we go.
Excellent.
Gremlins is just brilliant. Now, if you haven't seen Gremlins, obviously there's this kind of like loser inventor, and he's, you know, he can't really connect with his son, who's like, you know, they say he's like a teenager, but he looks like he's in his 30s.
Yeah.
And and basically,
what's his name? Zach Baggins. Yeah,
gets him this gremlin, basically this little kind of teddy bear looking thing. And you can't feed it after midnight, you know, can't get it wet, blah, blah, blah. Chaos ensues. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, sit your kids down and watch it. It genuinely is just one of those phenomenal movies that, look, to be fair, it's a little bit scary as well. But
more than a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it has 1 or 2 kind of like, oh god, but it's really good. It has my favorite Christmas song in it, and second favorite Christmas song is great. Also, sorry, one as well that you have to move is Elf. Elf is also phenomenal.
Oh yeah, that's on my list.
We'll go back to that one because that's a good one.
People miss about Gremlins, because people just they do that Die Hard thing where they try and say it's not a Christmas movie, even though it's set at Christmas.
It clearly is.
And I just want to make this point in the sand, whatever, before anyone out there says Gremlins is not a Christmas movie. Gremlins is not only a Christmas movie, it is a Christmas movie where the Christmas present kills a town.
Yes.
That's a great horror premise, you know?
Yes. But look, we'll transition a bit into Elf as well, because I think it's probably in all of our lists, right? So Elf, basically made by Jon Favreau, saved Star Wars, saved Christmas, saved pretty much everything.
Created the MCU, more or less.
Created the MCU. Yeah. So Elf is great. So Keane, since you mentioned it, talk about Elf.
Oh, Elf is another one I got to see in cinema when it came out. And it's, you know what? I will say this, coming up with this list, it's really hard to do a Christmas movie that is kind of aimed slightly at adults, but is not specifically about a snowman or Santa. It's very hard to get that sincerity across. And there's just something about there's something about the childlike enthusiasm of Will Ferrell as the elf character, Buddy, where as a kid and as an adult, you can kind of project yourself onto him because he's so sincerely giddy and uncomplicated that when you put him in these very cynical environments, it's kind of like a reverse Grinch, actually. It's just comedy gold.
It's also kind of like
in this very jaded kind of New York City, and you see him gradually win people over with his Christmas spirit. And it's just, apart from being just really funny, it's just really uplifting. It is basically a reverse Grinch, except the Grinch is the nice one and everyone else is the kind of jaded one. You know what I mean?
I would say it's a good double feature to watch with Scrooged.
Oh, Scrooge is on my list too.
Oh man, that's one that nobody gets enough love about. Scrooge is brilliant. Kev, we're going to talk about Scrooge in great detail, but have you got one there to throw in?
I've seen neither Scrooge nor Elf.
Oh, there you go, sir.
You
have to watch both
bloody
of those.
Hell.
They're really good. They're funny. Scrooge, go for it. Sorry.
To move on in the interest of time, it's funny actually that I think Dara, you brought up the Snowman earlier. On my list, it's not the Snowman, but the pairing, the sister movie to that, which is Raymond Briggs's Father Christmas, which I have on Sweet Standard DVD.
This is the one about Santa just taking a holiday.
It's really good, actually.
This really brummy northern Santa that thinks everything's blooming marvelous, and it's just it's like the movie starts with like him coming in from like after his Christmas night, taking his socks off, putting the candle. Like, I bet you wonder what I'm doing the rest of the year. It's a half an hour long, but it's this wonderful little story about just Santa going on these adventures, going to the lakes of Scotland, just getting wasted in a bar, or going to Vegas and sitting on a bleeding floaty the entire time. It's just a little thing, and it's like this is like my anchor. This is my this is Christmas Eve to me. There's just something so genuine about it. I adore.
And I'm really glad you brought that up because like the what's it called? What's the technical name for it again? Sorry, just
Raymond Briggs Father Christmas.
Raymond Briggs Father Christmas, because like this always comes on after the Snowman, and now I think the Snow Dog comes on next. But this always comes on usually after the Snowman, and it's the one that drives my brother and sister out of the room. I'm like, no, this is great.
Yeah,
I think there's just something about the Santa Claus voice and the fact that it's not overtly Christmassy that loses some people that I know. But I think this is an absolute gem. There's something wonderful about it.
I don't like the Snowman. I think the Snowman's obnoxious.
Oh,
I love this.
I think here's the thing. I think as a kid, the Snowman's like the most important thing you can see at Christmas, because even if you're like whatever, or you're not really able to take the whole Christmas thing in, it really does condense what Christmas feels like for a kid. Like,
I've got a case study in that because my 2-year-old watched the Snowman for the first time the other day.
And there you go. And she was mesmerized
loved it, and I just sat there with dread because I knew where it was going, and I was really worried about how she was going to react. I spent a half an hour with my hands on my knees rocking, and she was fine, and I cried. So there you go.
But the thing about it is, it's like it's one of those movies that you just kind of have to watch. And I think the other one
the Father Christmas
Christmas one, that's more for like the adults. That's more kind of like, isn't that a bit funny? Because it's very authentic. And I think one thing that we're touching on here with all these movies is the authenticity of these movies. Like, people
a Christmas movie lives and dies on its sincerity, or if it's like even a Scrooge, like,
here's the thing though, like
last 10 minutes is great, I
will let you get on to Scrooge, I promise, but it is like the sincerity, like it's that joke of like, here he is on holiday, there's the last 10 minutes of that are him just hitting the ground running and just trying to do Christmas in a bolt, and it's just like, there's like, no, this is Santa on the job. It feels great. I'm done. I could talk about this movie for hours.
Well, tell you what, before we can go to Scrooge, we do have less good Christmas things, and we've touched on none of them. Should we do that, or will we just like throw that out the window?
Well, look, what I'd say is, okay, we've already done a podcast on this, guys. So if you want to go over to Nerd Media and check out the wrestling ones, because that's some terrible stuff. Some highlights are Jingle All the Way 2.
I did not know that exists.
It does.
How did Jingle All the Way not make my list? Bloody hell.
And it has 2 wrestlers in it. The Big Show is actually in Jingle All the Way 1.
Oh, no. Yeah.
There's Santa's Sleigh, where Santa is a serial killer. There's a Santa with muscles, which is a crazy.
Bryn wishes he could be here talking about that. Yes,
he does. But what I'd say, if you're intrigued by any of that, go over and check out the show from last week because we go into it in great detail. But let's talk about the good, because it is Christmas Day after all.
Okay, all right. Well,
if we have time,
Star Wars holiday special back in its box until next year.
So how are we doing, Kev, for time?
Still about 15 minutes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So Scrooged, I saw this when I was 8. And I saw it at my grandmother's house on Channel 4, and I was very confused by the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I loved Bill Murray, and as an adult, it just gets better and better, and I just really relate to this movie. I really do. I relate to it. And I know it's a retelling of Dickens, but like you really do just relate to it as you're an adult. You're like, oh yeah, Scrooge.
Well, to explain to Kev and the audience at home, it's a bit more meta than that, in keeping with our Matrix.
It's very meta.
Which is that
very meta,
it's set in a TV studio where they're doing a live performance of A Christmas Carol, and it's obviously the 80s and all that kind of stuff. And Bill Murray is like the TV executive in charge of it.
Yes,
and he is trying to amp up this traditional retelling of Christmas Carol by throwing in explosions, cars blowing up, like, the trailer has like, a nuclear bomb in it. And like, there's an old woman apparently who has a heart attack because she gets a fright from the trailer for like A Christmas Carol. And so you've got this, like, I'm not sure if they did it on purpose, but you've got so much 80s-ness in it where it's like brilliant. Big corporate business stuff has replaced the sort of Dickensy, like, send them to the workhouse type stuff. And you see A Christmas Carol happening in the background of the story. And he's just trying to get through his day and get this thing out. And in the plot, he's having these weird alternate ghosts of Christmas past, present, future bothering him while he's just trying to get on with his job. And there's so many like layers to it that like, I'm making it sound like more intelligent. It is a goofy Bill Murray movie, but it's a very well constructed one,
But it's the best, goofiest Bill Murray movie.
Yeah.
Like this and Groundhog Day are like very similar in lots of ways. They're paced exactly the same way as well. But it's that layering that just makes classic Bill Murray so good. And if you haven't seen it, like genuinely, like watch this at Christmas Eve.
It's been knocking around my list for a while.
Okay, you should watch it. You really enjoy it.
I keep meaning to.
You'll really enjoy it.
I think you guys say Scrooged on both your lists.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
because I have A Christmas Carol on my list.
Which one now?
It's fine.
It's the Muppets one.
Yeah, that's on my list too. That's gonna be my next pick.
Wow, you doubled up on Christmas Carol.
It's not on my list, but it's one that if it's on, I'm going to watch it because it's brilliant.
It's A Christmas Carol, classic tale, classic Dickens. The Muppets one, I think, is the best version.
Yeah, I think it's oddly the most faithful version I've ever seen, which is weird because Muppets are in it. But
but that's the thing, like, the
Muppets are just playing the parts.
But that's the thing, like, the Muppets as actors though do like somehow just fit fully into these roles, without fault. Yeah. Like Kermit is a fantastic Cratchit. Fozzie is a great he's called Fozziewig in it. What the hell is that?
Yeah, exactly. Or like Sam the Eagle as the principal of the school.
Like it just works. But then on top of that, then you have the best Scrooge in Michael Caine.
Yes.
He's brilliant.
Never topped.
He's brilliant.
Just can't.
One thing though, the Disney one is pretty good too.
I do like that's the Jim Carrey one is very, very good.
Is it?
No. The one with Mickey Mouse. The cartoon.
Oh, okay.
I remember like, and it's
is that
like,
Scrooge McDuck one? Is it?
Yeah, but the actual like, I remember seeing that as a kid, and it is pretty horrifying actually. When it turns dark, like the ghost of Christmas future.
Yeah,
and I remember that did mess me up a fair bit, but no, that's
starting to come back to me now. Yeah,
that's a good one too, and it's shorter. But like, if you're looking for a faithful retelling of A Christmas Carol, the Muppets is the way to go.
Which just a side note, one of my favorite little anecdotes was one of the guys I used to work with, Adam, was telling me that he was at a trivia quiz night once that asked him how many ghosts were there in A Christmas Carol. With the answer obviously meant to trip you up to say 3.
Yeah.
Where the actual answer is 4 with Marley.
Yeah, exactly.
But he was so determined that it was 5. Because of Marley and Marley. The two Marleys. Whoa. There was 2 Marleys.
That is
because he only knew the Muppets one.
Yeah, I love that one.
And that's the thing. I love that, like the songs they throw in. It's just a great. And like obviously it's Henson's Muppets, so it is timeless. Like those puppets still stand up. It's
so, look, before I move on to another pick, I just want to clear up one thing. So 2 picks that are going to be there, but the controversial ones. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. Deal with it. And so is Batman Returns.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Absolutely is. That one. Absolutely is. Batman punches someone through a Christmas tree. It's a Christmas tree.
What about all of Shane Black's films though?
So yeah, Kiss Kiss Bang. But actually, a lot of Christmas. Yeah, I would say
Kiss, like Iron Man 3 and The Nice Guys and all that kind of stuff.
And Kiss Kiss Bang Bang as well. Yeah. But Iron Man 3. Well, it's a Christmas movie as well. But I mean, like Batman specifically, and same with Die Hard. They both take place like.
Die Hard was on my list as well.
Had to be, and it's I actually watched it there like 4 days ago while I was doing the Ashari merch. Me and my mom, she was helping me, and we're watching Die Hard. I'm like, this is such a great movie.
Die Hard, much like Father Christmas, anchors my Christmas Eve. Yeah, I've been following with Die Hard for the past 10 years.
So it's so good, and you know what? If you haven't seen it, guys. I don't know how you haven't seen it, but definitely if you haven't seen it in a while, go back and watch it. But one that I want to talk about that people don't, and then we'll kind of go 2 more picks. I think we're running out of time. Just Friends. Have you guys seen Just Friends?
No. The Ryan Reynolds thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that was a Christmas movie. Yeah,
it is. So all right. So the premise is Ryan Reynolds is
okay. You have lost all right to go after me for like a Last Christmas.
No, hold on. Is Deadpool in your pick? No, he is not. This is Ryan Reynolds being just Deadpool before being Deadpool, and it's classic Ryan Reynolds. I love anything Ryan Reynolds is in, but basically he plays this loser who is in love with his best friend, and then he goes off and becomes Ryan Reynolds, and then that's what he does, and then he goes home and he's just Ryan Reynolds it up, and it's just hilarious. It's super fun, and it's dumb comedy. It's not for everybody. It's from 2005, so you kind of know what it's like. But if you're a fan of Ryan Reynolds, if you want proto Deadpool, there you go.
Oh, look, Love Actually made my honorable mentions. I'm totally going to respect that.
I like Love Actually, but I also hate Love Actually at the same time.
See, I hated Love Actually for a good 10 years, but it wore me down.
It does wear you down.
It's just that sweet.
Yeah, it does wear you down.
It finds its way in.
Drums. She doesn't play those drums. The whole time you're like, why aren't you playing those drums?
There was an octopus at the nativity. Yeah.
Yes, there was. It's one of those movies that, like, first time I saw it, like, I hate this movie, and then I saw it again and again and again, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's pretty good. All right.
Look, I mean, on some level, every person on the planet has gotten upset looking at a Joni Mitchell CD now, and that's just the impact of this film.
It's fair, but I love that. It's like, it's not that it's good. It just wears you down after a while.
You just gotta watch it.
And the older you get as well, the more appreciation you have for it. You're like, isn't that nice? And you're like, what's happening? What's happening?
One thing to it though, like, because it takes that kind of piecemeal short story kind of approach. There is at least one of them that can be related to by kind of anyone universally.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Very, very true.
Apparently stuff got left out of it. I don't know how much more you could cram into this.
Yeah,
there's just so many. I counted about. I had to do an article on it recently. There's about 9 main stories, roughly, and that's being generous, condensing one or two into each other, like, you know.
And they all kind of intersect with each other then as well. Yeah. So
I'm short. I know we're short on time, so I want to quickly get into
go for
a recent favorite of mine that I know is on everyone's list. I've only just discovered It's a Wonderful Life in the past 4 years, and my God, is it the best film ever made?
But The Simpsons.
The Simpsons version of it is on my bad picks, actually.
No, but I mean, like, The Simpsons reference a lot.
No, but actually, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because if you haven't seen It's a Wonderful Life, the Christmas bit is only like the last 20 minutes.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
There's a lot of really good film before you get to that bit.
Well, it's absolutely a classic for a reason. You know, it is one of those movies that, like, if you haven't seen it again, folks, you probably should go watch it. Like, it's like watching 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like, just horse through it. You'll be fine. You know, it's one that you have to watch.
Oh, and like, you know, I feel like I put this kind of in the group chat, like, you know, it's the entire premise of the film is that your man is fighting to keep this like building and loan open against the oppressive rich guy. And like in the awful future where he never existed, Your man has taken over the town and everyone's living in squalor and these high rent things. I'm like, oh yeah.
So basically,
there's something to this, isn't there?
So basically, everyone's living in Dublin.
Yeah. And of course, Simpsons have monopolized every single aspect of that film in every episode. Some Bill's house, some Fred's house. But yeah, it's one of those films that makes me cry, and I love it. And it's a really hard watch the first time.
It is.
It's actually it's as uplifting as it is miserable. It's such a great journey, you know.
But see, that's it. It's so miserable to a point, and then you're like, then it goes back up, and you're like, oh, we're here.
Yeah.
So it is really good. It's brilliant.
I'd also put It's a Wonderful Life on one of those like people argue over whether it's a Christmas film or not type things.
It is though.
But only in the last 20 minutes of a 2-hour movie. But I definitely consider.
I don't think there's any arguing. I don't.
Look, the what was it, Cineworld and the Lighthouse showed it at Christmas, so that instantly makes it a Christmas movie. You know,
can't argue with that.
You cannot. By the way, I went to the View to see The Matrix today. Go to the View. Give them your money.
Are you just using this platform to just play Monopoly with all of the cinema branches in Dublin?
Well, no, Kane, you got to be fair. You know, you gotta. When you have good experiences, you talk about good experience. When you have bad experiences, you do a series on it.
I'm a guest star in this series now.
My book. I should do that. The book.
We need to do like a Michael Palin type thing where we just go around all the cinemas and do like a full-on documentary, commenting on the walls and all that.
Floor stickiness stuff. Was a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. You're just there with the drink.
They climbed over the chairs at the end.
They climbed over the chairs.
Running back into the wilderness.
Never to be seen again until the next Spider-Man movie.
The fire escape light, not obtrusively lit.
No one took pictures of themselves in the cinema during the movie.
My favorite thing about when cinemas used to be crowded was going to a horror movie, like a popcorny horror movie, like, you know, and like It or something like that, and seeing loads of like those kind of the teenagers or kids with the phones, and then a jump scare getting them and their phones dropping. Love that.
I know. I don't know if either of you talked about it last week, but I did see Spider-Man Far From Home or No Way Home.
We did an episode on it, but it was quite bogged down with all of the internet drama that happened that week. So I'd be happy to have your 2 cents.
I really liked it. I thought it was great. I don't want to dwell on that because we're kind of short on time, but just want to bring it up the fact that this is the only movie that I've ever had an audible cheer come up at what.
Yes, happened on my 2 films as well. Yeah.
But we are strapped on time. Does anybody have any movies that we missed?
Amazingly, you guys have monopolized my entire list.
Oh well.
So I'm pretty much away. I just want to give an honorable mention as well to the Toy Show and to the Doctor Who Christmas specials. They are very much hallmarks of my Christmas season.
I hate them both.
Of course you do.
You don't have to like the Toy Show, but you could certainly watch it.
You know what? I'd have no problem with the Toy Show if it wasn't taxpayer funded. That's my issue with it.
I think the Toy Show is the only part of RT I'm actually happy to pay taxes for.
Well, RT in general shouldn't be funded. But I will agree, it's the only thing that justifies RT being funded. So on principle, I'm like, I hate it. It should be run like Scrooged.
I think, like, you know, there's not many things I'm happy that my tax euros are going to, but if it's Ryan Tuberty abusing a load of children, I'll take that. That's where my money's gone.
Oh no, hang on. You want to get into that? Sure. I watched all the Pat Kenny years. That's got nothing.
Oh yeah, no, the Pat Kenny years were bleak, man.
Just watch the Laura Croft cosplayer.
Oh, I remember that. I was there.
Oh,
you were there.
I was there. Well, no. Like I was around. I was not there.
For anyone that doesn't know, folks, we're actually gonna put a link to that on our social media. Because you have to see it to believe it.
That's going international viewers. It's not funny. It's just awkward.
It's just awkward. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's why I don't like the Toy Show, because it's the most awkward thing on the planet.
But the Toy Show is much better than that now.
It's not though. It's terrible.
I watch it.
I watched it this year, and I'm like,
fair enough.
This is the worst thing ever. I had to leave halfway through.
I watch it expecting Cataclysm. That's my game here.
See, my expectation is that it's going to be a little bit better every year and just gets worse. And I'm like, oh
no, I completely disagree. I love it more and more every year. Prim was like, change the channel. I'm like, no,
I'm with her.
Toy show.
I'm with her. She knows quality. She knows quality. I do.
And with that, we are out of time, sadly.
Oh, man.
But we did pretty well at our Christmas lists, in fairness.
It's Christmas miracle, guys. We actually stayed on topic.
Whoa.
And
Mark
Star Wars
calendar.
And Star Wars was mentioned and everything.
Again.
Star Wars was dropped once.
Oh, man.
Oh, very good. We do our plugs before we go.
Yes. Keen.
Oh, me. Okay. Yep, as I have been reviewing a Christmas movie every year for Geek Ireland. This year I've done 2 because we didn't manage to do one last year. So if there's anything Christmassy coming out of Geek Ireland that isn't a Hawkeye review, it's probably mine. Go check them out if you want what we talked about, but with like editing and pictures and things.
And less cutting across each other.
No, I still cut across myself a fair bit, in fairness. Dara.
I would just say, yeah, go see The Matrix. It's super fun. And if you haven't seen Spider-Man, totally do. But go see it in the View or Cineworld.
We need to like actually just franchise you at some point.
What we're saying is, Dara, we need to sell you.
Yeah. Monetize this.
Monetize it, exactly.
And as always, you can find me on Twitter at KevTalika94, and you can find me running my Greek mythology D&D themed campaign over at youtube.com/the Nancy Crew with the campaign named The Odyssey of This Bish. We are taking a short break right now, but we'll be back in the new year.
Oh, also, that's wonderful. So our next show will be on New Year's Eve, won't it? So
it will be, yeah. So
guys, we have to plan something about that. I mean, we have a plan.
Well, here's the thing: if people want to get in touch with us, nerdtoknowmedia@gmail.com or nerdtoknowmedia.com as well is a good way to reach us, and all our social media, because that's when we drop all of our plans, because we do plan the show out sometimes. We just don't follow the plan. So we don't know what we're going to do yet for New Year's Eve, but we'll sort something out.
We gotta look in the murky brain soup that is our planning of show.
We have a recipe, we just don't use it.
We use half of it and then we just throw a bag of sugar in it, and there you go.
That's it. Well, until New Year's, salt! We hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, and we will see you right before the new year. So until then, I've been Cian.
I've been Kev. Merry Christmas!
Bye. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.